Hello everyone, welcome to the May online chapter meeting of the Building Designers Association of Australia. My name is Jennifer Binns and I'm a building designer in Tasmania, and I'm joined today by Sarah Jane, who's managing technology in the background. Leave a comment in the chat box, lovely, hi Mark, and let us know where you're logging in from. In case you haven't seen it, the new edition of the By Design magazine for exteriors is now available for viewing online, so definitely check that one out. The next edition is all about interiors. So if you've got a project that you would like to have highlighted, please reach out to Sarah Jane at media@bdaa.com.au. And all members in Victoria next week are invited to a sustainable soiree for a BDAA VIP networking session, in which noted economist Kerry Barwise will be giving a presentation on the forecast of the Victoria building design and energy efficiency industry. So Sarah Jane will post a link in the chat box for that one as well for us. A reminder also to register for WeatherTech's Wednesday, a 30-minute session held on the second Wednesday of every month. Register once and you're invited to attend every session. Next week, a designer will be interviewing WeatherTechs, asking questions from a designer's point of view rather than from a manufacturer's point of view. So check them out as well. So before we get started, just a quick run through of the Zoom tools. You can ask questions throughout the meeting using the Q&A box, and you can upvote other people's questions. And you can also ask questions via audio with the raise your hand tool. And we just ask that you check there's no background noise that will interfere with the audio when we unmute you. The chat box is there as a continuous message thread for comments, and Sarah Jane uses it to post links. And questions can get missed in the chat box. So if you want to ask a question, post it in the Q&A box. And the more questions and comments, the better. Hello from everyone. It's great to see all of that. We've got a great attendance again, so it's great to have you join us. Before we get started, we do want to pass on our condolences for 3 members of the BDAA who have recently passed away: Bruce Pilgrim, Daryl Forbes-Tabor and Doug McDonald. Our first presenter today is Ian Bassett, who is the Policy Director of the BDAA. Recently, we were advised that the transition provisions that have been provided by the New South Wales Department of Fair Trading for those building designers who wish to become registered for the design of Class 2 projects in New South Wales will cease on the 30th of June 2022. The transition provision allows building designers who do not hold the prescribed qualification to use the BDAA accreditation process as an alternative method of qualification for registration. So Ian is joining us today to clarify what that all means and to answer your questions. So this first presentation is one for New South Wales members predominantly, and anyone wanting to work in New South Wales. We've had a lot of questions in the past about this, so it's a great opportunity with Ian here to have some of those questions answered. So have I got you online, Ian?
You have. Can you hear me?
I can see you.
Good.
Hang on, that's me. I've got you on mute. Hello, welcome.
Fine. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks very much. And good afternoon, everybody. I think to start off with, I would like to just do a quick overview of what the Class 2 registration is in New South Wales. It's a New South Wales only issue, but it can affect building designers from other states who do work in New South Wales. Queensland and Victoria, particularly across the border, they have to also be part of this. A bit of the history of it was in New South Wales in particular, and I guess in Victoria we had some issues there, but in New South Wales we had some issues with multi-storey residential buildings, opal towers and mascot towers falling down, falling apart, etc. So the government up here decided they had to do something, and since July 2021, just nearly a year ago, all designers involved in Class 2 buildings in New South Wales must be registered for Class 2 work. This includes architects, building designers, engineers, mechanical, electrical, hydraulic designers, and all up about 20 professions are included. Initially, building designers were going to be excluded from the Class 2 regulations, and as it was really meant to apply to the multi-storey residential developments. And in New South Wales, that's SEP 65, 3 or more stories and 4 or more units. However, at workshops with fair trading, we pointed out there were many other types of Class 2 buildings. There was granny flats, townhouses with a common car park underneath, shop top housing, etc. And these were done by building designers, not just architects. And that these projects didn't simply fit the SEP 65 design criteria, which is three stories and 4 or more units. And that led to an acceptance by Fair Trading to include 2 classes for building designers under the new regulations, and that's design practitioner low rise and a design practitioner medium rise. The higher level of the open classification, they decided that was still SEP 65 type stuff, so we didn't get a gig on that one. Now, the qualifications for low rise designer is a diploma in building design, and the qualification for a medium rise designer is an advanced diploma in building design, which all sounds very well, and we had no issue with that. The problem was that no one actually had an advanced diploma, and at that time it had only been recently introduced into the TAFE system, so no one actually had one. And we were then able to get recognition of the BDAA accreditation program as an alternative qualification for registration. And those building designers who did have it, not have a qualification but had many years of experience, could use our accreditation program to get that assessment done. This transition program has been running since July 2021 and it's going to cease on the 30th of June this year. And that's the issue we have at the moment. So what is Class 2 registration process and how does it affect you? If you have a prescribed qualification, that's a diploma, an advanced diploma or architectural degree, and as I said before, not many would have an advanced diploma, you can apply directly to Fair Trading for registration, and there's no time limit on this application. So you can just do that at any time. If you do not have a qualification, you need to undergo the BDAA accreditation program along with a government mandated interview, and we will issue you with a certificate of compliance or competence for Class 2 work. When you then apply to the Fair Trading for the application, you apply for the registration, you use this certificate we give you as the qualification that will get you through the application. Now, those building designers who already hold accreditation, and a lot of you do, can undergo an audit of their work along with the interview, and that will also give you that certificate of competence. Now, both of these processes require you to submit Class 2 projects for assessment because we're assessing you as being competent in Class 2 work. So they have to be Class 2 projects, not just Class 1 and 10 or 3 to 9. Now, when you're applying to Fair Trading for registration using the BDAA certificate of competency, you're required to provide a list of Class 2 projects that cover a 10-year experience timeframe. And that can be a bit problematic for many of us. This can be a sticking point for many, but the timeframe for each project begins from the time you first make the phone call, when you get that first phone call for the project, to the time the occupation certificate was issued. So that can actually be run over a 2-year period, 2.5 years, even 3 years, many, many, many years. It can add up. But the amount of projects you put together, 5, 6, 7 or 8, must total that 10 years experience. On top of that, all applicants for Class 2 registration must also complete there's 2 online training modules that are prescribed by the Fair Trading, and they are navigating the design and building practitioners legislation, and the other one is the value of Australian standards. Now, both of these are $140. They're 2 hour, about a 2-hour session, and they're all online. And on top of that, you then need to do a police check to say you're a fit and proper person to be a building designer Class 2. That may be a problem for some of us, but we won't go down that road. All information about this is available on our website, bdaa.com.au, under accreditation, and look down to the New South Wales DMBP Act regulations. If you click on that, it'll take you to a page where there's lots and lots of information there available. So that's just a clear overview of what our program is. The issue we have is that because it's ending on the 30th of June this year, that you will have to have your application to us for assessment by mid-May. We put the 16th of May because it takes us 5 to 6 weeks to do an assessment from the time we get your application to the time we get it assessed. That's the period of time that we require, and we don't want anybody missing out because they're putting it in a week before the end of June. It just won't get you over the line, unfortunately. So for those who are thinking about doing it, you need to get your act together fairly quickly, get your information together. If you've got any questions about it, I'm here to answer them. If you want to give me a call, the phone number's on the website, and I'm quite happy to answer any inquiries that you have. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm quite happy to take them on. I'm not sure how, Jennifer, you're going to handle that. Do I just look up the chat thing, or do you read them too?
There's only one question at the moment in the Q&A box. Ian from Richard Sapwell, he says, as I am a registered building practitioner in Victoria, do I have to register for Class 2 work in New South Wales? I'm assuming you're doing work in New South Wales, Richard.
It doesn't matter if you're registered or even registered architects have to be registered to do Class 2 work. So yes, you can be registered in another state, that's fine, but you still have to be registered for Class 2 work in New South Wales. It applies to everybody.
I don't think we have any other questions in the chat box unless I've missed them. So normally, Ian, we're flooded with questions, and when you're not here, we don't have the answers. Now you're here. Here we are. Tristan's asked, in other words, it's an entirely new class of registration?
Class 2. Class 2, yes. Well, Class 2 is totally new. It only came in on the 1st of July last year. Just be aware, I think our members need to be aware at the same time that Class 2 has come in, that we will be seeing fairly shortly Class 3 and 9 come under the same type of regulations. Their attitude is that any building that has a bed in it, apart from a Class 1, will be required to be done by registered building designers or registered architects or registered designers. Same principles will apply. We don't have information on that at this point of time. We have been on workshops with Fair Trading. We just don't know the timing of it, and we don't know what the regulations are, but as soon as we do, we'll let everybody know. So it could have a major impact. Along the same time, and I think talking about in other classes, I think it's wise to mention that there is also another legislation coming aboard that the Building Codes Board put together called the National Regulation Framework. Now, the National Regulation Framework has looked at a stack of professions, including building design, architecture, plumbing, electrical, the whole box and dice. And the idea of that was that there would be a common set of qualifications across all states. And the idea then comes in that we have cross-border recognition of qualifications, mutual recognition, etc. Now, the principle is already there. It's been, as I understand it, has been agreed to by building ministers, but it hasn't been put together. And I think if I mention and say that if we look at what's happened in the various states over the last couple of years with COVID, where we've all been working very closely together, all in sync, you're going to need understanding that it's not going to be a simple thing of just it's on, this is it, everybody just abides by it. So it is there to happen, but when it happens, we're just not sure. But I imagine it will happen one day, maybe.
We're getting some questions coming in now. So Peter Connor said, if you have a diploma of building design, what can I do in Class 2? In Class 2,
if a diploma of building design would be low rise, a design practitioner, building designer, low rise. That covers Class 2 buildings up to 2 stories and 2,000 square metres.
Thank you. Matt Curves has asked, the New South Wales registration portal asks for Class 2, 3, 9A and 9C as a body of work. Can these other classes be assessed if we are short of Class 2 work over the period? This may be covered as you are discussing the other classes.
If you're looking at a Class 3 or 9, what they would require, because it's a Class 2 registration, it is those buildings that include a Class 2 component. So if you're looking at using those type of projects for your assessment or for your application, they would have to include a Class 2 component. And many of those types of buildings actually do. And while what I mentioned about low rise is 2 stories, medium rise, building design and medium rise goes up to 3 stories. There's no limit on size. it technically goes to 4 stories if the ground floor is actually an open car park.
Okay. Thank you. Jason has asked, is the old associate diploma in architectural drafting considered a suitable qualification?
Oh, it's not. The only one that they've sort of fair trade, I mean, it's a government. We've got to say it's the government in inverted commas, is that the regulation actually says you must have a diploma of building design or an advanced, you must have, which means no matter what else you've got doesn't count. And we put this argument to them, so well, people have got lots of other different things, but the only one that they're actually prepared to accept is if you have a degree in architecture, they would accept that. For the medium rise where it says you must have an advanced diploma, they will accept a degree in architecture, but any other qualification, no, you would have to go through the process of either our assessment or after the 30th of June, there won't be any way of getting it at all.
Anna has said, I have an architect diploma from overseas and more than 20 years local experience as a project architect. Do I need to go via the building designer process or can I go through fair trading?
If you have a qualification, as I said, a degree in architecture, you can go direct to fair trading.
Even from overseas?
Overseas qualification, no.
Right.
Overseas qualifications, we recognise them in our assessment process. We recognise that people have overseas qualifications. But I think if you just look at, if you have an overseas qualification in architecture, it doesn't automatically mean you can be registered as an architect in Australia.
So Anna would need to go through
they would have to go through our process, yeah.
Okay.
Well, either that or apply to the AIA through the Architects Registration Board and go through their process of assessment, which is 2 years working for a local architect, etc., etc.
Tristan has asked, in addition to Peter's question, the diploma of building design won't allow you to register unless you can show experience.
Diploma of building design, you must have, if you're applying directly to the department, they require you to have a minimum of 5 years experience in Class 2 work. If you're going through our assessment program, the wisdom of them was, well, that's not as clever as having a diploma. You must have a minimum of 10 years experience of Class 2 work.
Right, thank you. Cherie has asked, I have a degree in architecture and open building design licence with QBCC. Do I have to send my experience?
The only thing, if you've got a degree from QBCC, that's great. If you have a degree, you can apply directly. You just have to have the minimum number of 5 years experience in Class 2 work.
Jason has asked, is the Advanced Diploma of Architectural Technologies allowable?
No, it's an Advanced Diploma of Building Design. They are different courses. The Advanced Diploma of Architectural Technology, or even the Diploma of Architectural Technology, those courses are now defunct. Not saying they weren't good, don't get me wrong. I personally have an architectural drafting certificate from 1960 something. That was last century. They do change, but no, it's a Diploma of Building Design. That is the current qualification.
There's just a question in the chat box. What happens if you decide to become registered for Class 2 after the 30th of June?
After the 30th of June, unless you have a qualification, there is no pathway for you to get registered at this point of time. We are working very closely with the Department of Fair Trading to try and get an extension. I personally believe that they're putting a hold on it while they get this Class 3 and 9 sorted, and then they'll bring that all in together with the Class 2. It'll become one big, it seems pointless to have a registration for Class 2 and then you've got to turn around and have a separate registration for 3 and 9 and a separate registration for Class 1, etc. I think it'll all get encompassed together. And I imagine, to my mind, that's probably what they're working on. But as I said before, we don't know because they just won't tell you. It's the government.
Really, it is quite important that if you're even thinking about registering for Class 2 work, if you need to take advantage of this process of accreditation.
You really do. And that's why we put that notice out. And I do apologise for not doing it earlier, but when I was going to do it, I ended up with that wonderful thing called COVID. And by the time I surfaced, I realised we had to get this out quickly. And I do apologise for that. But if you can get all to work together, get in. What we've found with fair trading for those who have applied and found that they've found wanting, they get a letter from fair trading that they have to go through the BDA.
Okay.
We've actually, they give you then 14 days to do it, 14 days, which is ridiculous. We've had members then write back, we've told the members to write back to fair trading and ask for an extension. Fair trading has then come back and said, yes, we'll give you an extension provided you can give us evidence that you are actually undertaking the BDA accreditation program, which is obviously a copy of the receipt that you, for your fees you pay. They've sent that in and have got extensions. So what I'm suggesting is that if you're dragging the chain a little bit, there could be a little bit of flexibility. We're not 100% sure, but I think that provided you actually can prove you're undertaking our assessment program, they would probably give an extension maybe beyond that 30th of June, but you would have to still get your stuff in as quick as you possibly can.
Thank you, Ian. John has asked, Class 2 definition is a building containing 2 or more sole occupancy units, each being a separate dwelling. I think that's more a comment than a question.
Well, that's pretty much correct. It's usually a sole occupancy unit, one above another.
Yeah.
For example, granny flats can be a Class 2 building.
If they're, yeah.
Yeah, and you could have 3 townhouses with an open garage underneath. They're Class 2 buildings. So it's not just multi-storey type stuff, but you just need to have a good hard look. Although in New South Wales, as you all will know, a granny flat above a garage attached to a residence isn't a Class 2 building. It's a Class 1 if it has a separate entrance directly to the street. An anomaly just for New South Wales. But that's the building code of Australia, isn't it? One code with 7 variations.
Michael Sandell has just said, Ian, you don't need to apologise for anything. Thanks for your work in this sector over many, many years. We concur with that, Ian. Tom has asked, does a duplex count as a Class 2 building?
No, duplexes generally aren't Class 2 unless they have a common car park underneath them.
Common car park. And John has asked, does a detached secondary dwelling fall into this category?
Generally not. Attached secondary dwelling is a Class 1, provided it then has a firewall between them. But they're not. Generally, a Class 2 is one sole occupancy unit above another. That's a fairly good guide, above another sole occupancy unit or above a car park or a set of shops or something like that of a different class.
Not associated with that building.
Not to say, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Tom has asked, students with a diploma of building design will need to apply after graduating and then gaining the requisite 5 years experience.
Well, this is the issue. If you have a diploma of building design, you must be able to demonstrate that 5 years experience of Class 2 work. And if you only just graduated recently or going to graduate, you're going to find that's difficult. Although once you do graduate with a diploma of building design, and you can do some Class 2 work with somebody, you may be working for somebody that does it, you'll be able to put that in your portfolio and eventually you'll be able to apply directly. When we say you won't be able to apply for Class 2 after the 30th of June, that doesn't apply for those who actually have a qualification. There's no time limit on that.
Right. Shane has asked, hi Ian, I have my accreditation for low rise, but I don't do Class 2, only side-by-side dual occupancy with single party walls. Is this looking to change to registration requirements as well in the future? No,
Class 2 is Class 2. It's as simple as that. What you're saying there, that you're doing Class 1 and 1A, they're not Class 2. If you go do Class 2 work or a building with a Class 2 component in it, you must be registered for Class 2.
And Alfonso has asked, I have a degree in architecture. I generally contract to other firms and design their Class 2 work. How do I show that as experience?
Oh, that's a bit tricky. You need to have a logbook or keep a record of your work. And the most important thing is that the drawings that you're preparing have evidence on it that you actually prepared those drawings. That's drawn by Joe Bloggs or etc. Not just checked by, but drawn by your initials in the title block. And I think that's the important thing, that you can keep a register of that. But what you have to do is make sure that you do keep those. Working for other people is fine. There's no problem in that. But you just have to be able to give evidence, yes, you actually did that work.
Richard has asked, are thermal performance assessors included in the long list you've mentioned and required to register?
So no, they're not, unless they're doing an actual Class 2 building design.
Okay, but the thermal assessment is not
No,
considered part
it's
of
not covered under any Class 2 regulations at all.
And he has asked, if you have a qualification from overseas, you can apply to assessment from ARAA to accept and approve your degree through a list of recognised degree of their own, and then you can apply to be a registered architect in Australia. Or otherwise, the assessment would say that your qualification is equivalent to a similar Australian one. I did that before and received acknowledgement from them to help me do a master's degree in university.
Yeah, well, if you have a master's degree, there's no problem. You can do direct application to the department. Overseas qualifications is problematic, but if you can, when you become registered as an architect here using overseas qualifications, I think there's a 2-year practical experience. You still have to sit for the practice exam and demonstrate that, yes, you're up to date with Australian standards.
And Aram has asked similar, does a bachelor's degree in architectural studies allow us to register for mid-rise accreditation?
It would. They will accept a degree in architecture. That's a concession that we're able to gain, because a lot of our members, although they have degrees in architecture, they're graduates, they're not architects, they're not registered architects, but there's no reason why they can't use that qualification. So we argue with the Department of Fair Trading and said, well, okay, if someone's got to need to have an advanced diploma, which, as we pointed out, nobody has, because it was only recently introduced, if they've got a degree in architecture, which is above the next level above an advanced diploma, why can't that be recognised? And Fair Trading did accept that that would be the case. It is very limited, but they will accept that as a qualification equivalent to or even better than.
Marcel has posted a comment saying he would just like to say thanks to you and Les for your assistance. He's submitted his application to Fair Trading Services New South Wales and is now awaiting their response.
That's good. Keep our fingers crossed.
So that at this stage is all the questions. Now, Sarah Jane has posted your contact details in the chat box.
That's
so
fine.
People can email you, and your contact number is in there as well.
Yep, you can email me or phone me. I'm quite happy to take, just don't phone me at 7 o'clock at night, please. We do get that. We do have a life apart from BDAA, just be aware we do have that, but quite happy to take any inquiry at all. But I will emphasise, though, that time is of the essence now, because we have 4 assessors who are willing to do the work. But if we get snowed under with 50 or 60 applications, we really do need time to do these applications, because they take an assessment takes 3 or 4 hours per assessment, so it does add up. And the other thing I say, if you're putting in your application, please make sure that you tick all the boxes possible on the forms, and do not tick a box if you're not putting something in. If it's asking for an internal elevation and you're not putting one for that project, do not tick that box, because it drives us nuts looking for it. So make sure you cover everything if possible. The better the application is, the more information is available for us, the quicker we can manage it, because otherwise we've got to go back and ask you to send some stuff in, and that just takes time. By the time you get it, the application from us, we get it back from you, etc. It just takes time, and we're trying to reduce that as much as we possibly can.
Very good. Jason has just asked, where do we find the application forms? I think Sarah Jane might be responding, but I'm assuming that they are on our website.
Sarah Jane will put it up there, but it's on bdaa.com.au. And if you go to accreditation and look under the New South Wales D&BP Act regulations, all the forms are there, or even become accredited. The forms are under become accredited. All the information's there. Very
good. Thank you, Ian, for answering those questions. You're a wealth of knowledge and experience, and it's appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you all.
All right. So moving on to our next presentation, we have Bronwyn Aldridge from BDAA, who will be discussing the National Design Awards program for this year. So Bronwyn is going to be discussing the application process, how to achieve the best photos and necessary copy to ensure your Design Awards submission is a valid entry. She's got tips and tricks on how we can submit our best application. So have I got you online, Bronwyn? Not yet. So if anyone's thinking of putting in a submission for the design awards, I believe they're open. I think we've got Bronwyn with us now. You there, Bronwyn?
Here I am.
Hello. You ready for me to
Hi,
hand
Jennifer,
over
how
to
are
you?
you?
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to make some announcements today. So shall we get to it?
Yes, all yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. Hello to all of the members that are online today. Thank you for your time. All right, let's click on this one. We'll go to there, and we can rock and roll. So I'm happy to take any questions at the end, of course, in regards to my presentation. So let's get going. Right, the National Design Awards. I bet there's a handful of you that have just been waiting for this announcement and thinking, come on, it's about this time. When are we doing this? And after the last 2 years of everybody being, you know, at home, working from home and going through various lockdowns and us not being able to have the live events, we are so excited at the BDAA to be working on this year's conference and this year's award program. So it really is a time to celebrate. We welcome you to award season. You know, if you're anything like me, I think sometimes when you've been working from home for so long and you haven't been doing the social scene because of COVID restrictions and rules and what have you, when you finally do get to go to a social event, you've kind of forgotten what it's like to be around people. And evidence of that, I mean, I've gate crashed a couple of New South Wales chapter events so far this year, and the feedback was from everybody, it was just so good to be in front of people again. And so I feel like the annual conference is going to be like that on steroids. We're all going to see each other, long-term friends that from across the states haven't seen each other for a while are going to get to catch up. And you've all worked so friggin' hard over the last couple of years on your projects. And so we want to really make it about you. We want to reward you for your efforts. And you know what? Just take time to stop and breathe and reflect, and probably have a whinge with each other as well about the shortage of supplies and price rises. But hey, it's all part and parcel. So that is annual conference. Now, the team has been working really, really hard behind the scenes to bring you a bigger and better conference this year. The format's going to be a little bit tweaked. There's going to be some new elements to the conference, which is really exciting. I've had a sneaky look at the guest lineup as well for all of our guest speakers and keynote speakers. You are going to be educated, you are going to be inspired with what we've got to offer. So I'm super excited for that to be announced shortly. But for now, we've got awards to talk about. And of course, the National Design Awards make up, you know, is a celebration at the end of conference. And so today we're going to be talking about, you know, what we need to do to compile a really good award entry, and probably more importantly, what the benefits are of actually entering into the National Design Awards and what you can do to really boost your chances of winning and get the most out of the program, regardless of whether you walk away a winner or not.
I'm just going to interrupt you for 1 second because the slides are coming up in, you need to change over to presenter mode.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where do I present mode?
That's all right. I don't know which button to press, but.
Oh, I know what we're doing here. Yep, give me 2 seconds. Let's go that one instead. So you're seeing all my notes.
Yes, that's it. Perfect.
Is that it? That means you're seeing how much I'm missing my target.
All right, back to you.
Excellent. Okay. So with the National Design Awards this year, well, like every year really, but we've really wanted to hone each of the categories. So we want to make sure that, you know, students have got plenty of opportunity to get involved. Our thermal performance assessors have got plenty of opportunity to get involved, as well as all of the wonderful categories that you're used to. So you will notice that a couple of the descriptions have been tweaked. And you will be getting a entry guide so that you can see, you know, exactly what is on offer and what needs to happen. Now, SJ, are you able to please put a poll up for, I want to know if out of those people that are online today, who has actually participated in the National Design Awards program in previous years? If you wouldn't mind doing that for me, and we'll get some feedback back on that in a second. While that poll's on, I want to just share with you a little story. So there's a lot more to winning an award than actually claiming the prize. And I'm just going to move that over there. When I first entered my first award, the reason I entered the award was actually as a practice. I was a pretty new designer, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a crack just as a practice run, so I know what's involved in the application process. So next year when I have something worth entering, I'll know what to do and I'll be a full bottle. Lo and behold, that year, I actually won a category prize for my bathroom entry, and then went on to become the Bathroom of the Year designer for South Australia. I'm not telling you this story to toot my own trumpet, but what it does do is it takes me back to the moment that I got to be on stage and collect my award. And the feeling of that, I don't think anyone that's participated in the awards program before, and I can see that there's probably about 30% of you on the call today that have, I'm sure they could attest to that feeling that you get when you first win an award. It's incredible. That's worth entering on its own. But aside from that, there's actually far more to entering an awards program than the joy of winning and the temporary bragging rights. So really, what I want to talk to you about today is the opportunities that come up from not only winning the award, but actually doing your entry, just submitting an entry in the first place. First and foremost, when you are putting together your award, you're going to be putting forward a lot of criteria, which is going to be really helpful for the BDAA to help you market your business or yourself, and anybody associated with the project as well. So, you know, you're going to be putting forward photos, you're going to be writing up your design brief, and we're going to go into all of that shortly. When you put together that information, even if you think it's probably not that worthy of like, it might be a photo of a timber frame on site, for example, you know, every little bit of information that we can get, we can help you turn into marketing fluff, which is going to better promote your business. Every single person that enters into the awards, we actually do a profile for on the BDAA website. And so that means that you're going to have a marketing opportunity basically come out of this regardless of whether you win. And then, of course, if you win, then you get to have a couple more bragging rights and opportunities come up as well. Everybody who, and for that reason, every entrant wins. Now, I wanted to also touch on students, because there may be a tendency for students to think perhaps their work's not up to scratch or they've not got the experience. There is no better opportunity than the design awards for you to launch your career, regardless of whether you win, because it's going to give you that experience in getting your documentation together, but it's also going to showcase your skill set, which is then going to be noticed by people, by other members and industry partners as well. So you never know what opportunities can come out of it. And at the least, it is just an awesome experience to actually participate in. But what makes up a winning entry? So there's a few different categories here, and we're going to start with photography. That seems like kind of the obvious one, right? We all want to take amazing photos for our entries, but did you know that there's actually different kind of photos that you can take, and each one of them, each different type of photo actually plays a role in contributing to your overall entry. So for example, at the first, we've got our hero images. Hero images are the hero, obviously, as the name suggests, of the project. So for example, if I've just designed a residential project, typically your hero image is going to be the front elevation, either front on or from an angle, in capturing as much of the project as possible. These sort of images are the ones that they're going to really use for marketing. So you want to make sure that you've got really good quality, high resolution hero images. Further to that, what you really want to take note of, and I cannot stress how important this is these images need to be of portrait orientation. So portrait meaning vertical rather than horizontal. The reason for this is a lot of mediums that will be promoting your work are going to need that portrait orientation for print media, for social media. The problem with horizontal, or what we call landscape orientation, is that we can't blow them up and crop them, because you'll end up losing half the home, for example, if we take the home as an example. And so when you're speaking with your photographer, or if you are taking the photos yourself, it's really important that you get a series of portrait and landscape among your hero images for that purpose. All right, so secondary images is the next one. Now, secondary images are kind of still like hero images. They are capturing bigger components of the project, but perhaps from different angles, or they help tell the story. So when someone's looking at your project, they're seeing the wow through the hero image, but then what they're getting is then the story told as you then strategically take your photos from positions in the project that are going to be almost as people are looking at the photos, it's as if they're actually at the home. They're getting to see that we start here at the front, we then go to the front door, we then come around the side of the building, we then pan around the back. So if you are thinking methodically with how you take these images, what it's going to do from a judging perspective or anyone that's viewing your portfolio on your own website or elsewhere is it's going to help tell a story of how this house is flowing or how this landscape project works. And it's just going to give people a better understanding of exactly what your project is doing and why you've done what you've done. Then on top of that, we have our detail images. So detail images are going to be photos that are in capturing maybe something that's a little bit bespoke to your project. Perhaps there's something notable or unique that you really want to get a close-up of. And what is particularly important for this sort of detail image is including your industry partner products. Now, we're going to talk about industry partner awards later, but I wanted to just mention that by to qualify essentially for any of the industry partner awards as a bonus entry to your regular award submissions, it's only going to be counted if we can get a picture of your industry partner product. Otherwise, we don't know, we can't showcase that. We can't, it's not going to, we want to look after our industry partners as well, and we want to be able to showcase their amazing product on top of your amazing work. And so a photo is going to be the best way to demonstrate that. So if you are planning on, boosting your entry with another entry into an industry partner product category, then make sure that you're getting those photos of those products as well. And again, in portrait would be amazing. So that could be a hero shot, it could be a close-up, but make sure you're getting those industry partner products in that portrait for at least one of them. All right, so moving on from photography onto video content. Actually, I'll just quickly duck back to photography. Just something else important to note is professional photography is always going to be your number one. Obviously, with iPhones and technology, they are great these days. However, a professional photographer is going to be able to work their little bag of tricks to have your project really stand out. They're going to be able to deal with different environmental factors and light exposure and all that fancy stuff that I don't know about, and have your project just be reflected in its best light. So I would highly recommend a professional photographer if you can. Video content. So this is something that's a little bit new. And I want to stress that this is not something that is a judging criteria for your award, but it's certainly going to be beneficial. It'll be beneficial for the judging purposes, even though it's not being judged, because it's just going to help the judge better understand the project if they can see any video content either during construction or, final flyovers or whatever. However, it is definitely very beneficial when the BDAA is working with you to create some marketing content, great for PR and great for being able to tell a story to future clientele potentially. So we do encourage it. And even if it's just like a little bit of, it might be just a pan over the roof of some new timber framing that's just gone up, or perhaps you're just doing a pan of some products arriving to site. Even if you think it's trivial or no one would be interested in that, when we've got a compilation of enough of that stuff together, we can actually work magic with that, put some fancy music over the top, do a nice voiceover, mix it with some other things like an industry partner information. And all of a sudden, we've got some really nice, sexy marketing fluff that is going to help you increase your business and brand awareness and potentially industry partners associated with that as well. We're going to do that work for you. You just have to provide the content. So think about, the onus doesn't have to fall on you as a designer to necessarily have to be going to site all the time to take in videos. think about how many people are actually on site during construction. From site clearance and site works through to professional clean at the end and then landscaping. There's so many trades and people visiting site. And I bet you if you ask them, they've all got little sneaky photos and videos because they want to be capturing their component of the work as well. So hustle all them up and collect your social media content and your videos. Submit it as your application and then let us do the rest of the work for you, and we can come up with something brilliant for you. Particularly if you are an award winner, this is going to be so crucial in helping promote your work. So then the written criteria. The written criteria is broken into 4 different sections. So I'm going to go through each of these now. The design brief is the first thing that you're going to come across, and this is really important for setting the scene to your project. You think of all of the written criteria as telling a story, much like the photography. We want to tell a story. We want to really have the judges and anyone reading about your project understand exactly what it was you were facing and what you had to come up against, and then how you saved the day, essentially. So in the design brief, we're talking about what obviously the client brief, and it's really important to talk about, this, instead of just stating this is what the brief was, we want to go into, okay, why was this brief important to the client? Because I think it gives a more thorough understanding of exactly why you've done what you've done with your design solutions, and any information that the judges have about what some of the challenges may have been or what was driving the brief is only going to help you look better when you're then putting forward your design solution. So it certainly works in your favor to elaborate in this area. You need to be concise. There is a word count you need to adhere to, but you definitely want to be thorough as well. So I encourage you to, probably spend a bit of time with this one and make sure that you are using nice grammatical wording and good punctuation just to make it easier for us all to read. And also make sure that, you are being thorough and concise in this area. So then that leads to the design solution. The design solution is then talking about, how you met that brief, preferably how you exceeded that brief. What were your solutions? What challenges came up on site? Was there something left field that you had to address? Was there something that was unexpected come up? Did the client change the brief? Don't be afraid to talk about the negative, because at the end of the day, you've then problem solved to create your beautiful project that you've then created. So anything that you can do to highlight where you've had to apply your skills and expertise is going to be seen favorably by the judging panel. This is the opportunity to inflate your ego just a little bit. Some of us, like me, don't need permission to do that often. Other people struggle with that. So definitely giving you permission to inflate your ego a little bit here, so that you can put your best foot forward. So with the third piece of written criteria, this is now your entrant biography. Here you can get to flex a little bit more, and it is possible to flex without being arrogant, just by stating the facts. So we want to be, this isn't an area that's necessarily being judged, but it is certainly beneficial for your PR, obviously your promotion, public relations, marketing, all that sort of stuff. And really what we want here is for you to let us know what you want people to know, a bit about you, a bit about your experience, a bit about your business, a bit about perhaps what your business stands for, maybe the types of projects you like to work on. Is your design firm known for a particular type of characteristic? This is the sort of stuff kind of at a casual conversation level that we want to know here. We want to know more about you so that when we're then promoting you forward, we can know how to talk about you and represent you best. However, from a more official perspective, the fourth bit of written criteria is about your media release information. So this is, what do you want us to portray to the media on your behalf? This is an official representation of you and your business. What's really good to highlight here is your strengths and your values of yourself and your business or your company. Things that is going to be your branding message for your future clients and the general public, given that if you do win an award, it will be going out to different mediums of media. And we want you to help you put your best foot forward. So let us know what you stand for, what your values are, what your company's strengths are, and how we can best portray that for you there as well. But that one's more of an official representation, whereas the other one a bit more casual. Alrighty, so I just want to touch on, I don't have a slide for, but I do want to touch on the Industry Partner Awards, because this is like a bonus entry. It's really exciting. So there is going to be a ton of different categories available for you to partake in. You can obviously go in as little or as many of those as you like. And then once you've paid for your entry into said category, on a lot of them, you're then going to have the option to then pair up with one of our industry partners. So for example, if you've used a WeatherTex cladding on one of your new residential builds and you want to double up that entry, you've got a free bonus entry there. You just tick the button, tick the little box, and that's an instant entry into that. But remember, you need to have a photo of that product. All right, so all the other important stuff, because that stuff we've all covered was very, very important to give you the best chances of having success in the awards program. But this stuff is also pretty crucial. You need to know when we're opening. So this Friday is when entries will open. The website will be live. You will get your entry guides and an email telling you all the other important stuff, how to enter, all of that kind of thing. And we are offering an early bird offer this year with our pricing. So up until the 31st of May, if you were to get on the ball and be super proactive and get your entries into us by the end of the month, then you're going to get a special pricing on your entry, and then they go up after that. And then you'll have until the middle of July before entries close. So I will just put the pricing here in a second. But what I wanted to just say on dates, and I'm speaking from a personal experience here as well, is that a lot of people have a tendency to leave things to the last minute. And I think we all have good intentions, but we're also friggin' busy, right? And I get that. But like anything, you know, it's never going to be the perfect time. And the awards program is a solid investment with all of the marketing opportunity that comes out of it for you and your business. So essentially, really, for a small entry fee into an award, you are then potentially setting yourself up for 1, 2, 3 years worth of additional marketing. So I think that setting aside a little bit of time to work on your award entry is definitely a good investment made. And also, you don't want to compromise the quality of your entry. You know, leaving it to the last minute means you're rushing it. You might not have thought about your brief that well. You know, you're going to be compromising your chances of success, or possibly compromising the submission itself because you just run out of time, gets too hard, you don't end up entering, you totally miss out. And we'd hate for that to happen. So the early bird there is definitely there to incentivize you to get cracking, and then you don't have to worry about it for a little bit. Now, fees are only payable upon final submission. So what that means is you can actually log into your AwardForce platform and you can start working through your design, through your award application, and you don't have to actually make payment until you're ready to hit the green button and submit. So I just wanted to point that out. You can save your progress as you go, so you can do a little bit here, a little bit there. And our early bird fees, they're as promised. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but I reckon that these prices are actually phenomenal. They're so good, because I think about last year, the year before, when I entered my last award through another organisation, it was close to $600 to enter. And that was just per entry. So these are phenomenal prices. These are obviously early bird prices that you're seeing. They will go up as of the 1st of June, but not significantly. So capitalize, make the most of that, get in, get your early birds, get your project done and out the way. And then we can look forward to a phenomenal annual conference and awards presentation later on in the year at the end of October. That is all for me. So I'm happy to take any questions. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Bronwyn.
So you've been busy yourself?
I don't think we've got any questions that I can see.
Beautiful.
Corey has asked, what does primary, secondary and tertiary mean?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So when you are going to be given your entry guide, what will you see next to each of the individual categories is that it will either have a primary, secondary or tertiary next to it. So essentially the primary category is sort of for your new home builds, your renovations, additions, all of a majority of the awards, to be honest. Your secondary is going to be things like kitchen and bathroom design that someone might essentially, submit in addition as an additional entry to their bigger project or their whole home project. And then tertiary, as the name suggests, is going to be your student design awards. So I'm excited to say that there is 2 student design categories this year. One is an open category, one is a set brief category that has been created by last year's Design Excellence winner, Adam Hobel, and we're really excited to present that to you. And then there's 2 opportunities for our ABSA members to get involved as well, with obviously a focus around thermal performance assessment.
Thank you very much. I think that is going to wrap us up, unless there's any more questions coming through. That's a lot of really useful information. Thank you very much, Bronwyn. Inspired everyone to put in some application.
I'm excited. I hope everyone else is too. If there is any questions, SJ can put the email in the chat box perhaps of how to contact us if there is any questions come up. But give us until Friday, everything opens and then you'll be ready to rock and roll.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing everyone's entries. Okay, and so hopefully you all received the recent President's Report. So that announced the new dates have been set for the conference. So that's Melbourne, from October 27th to the 29th. So that is going to be the first face-to-face BDAA conference in 3 years. So make sure that you'll make an effort to get there. And BDAA will also be presenting a panel discussion at Design Build in Melbourne on the 11th of May. So add that to your diaries. So the next online chapter meeting will be 1 p.m. on Tuesday, the 7th of June. Keep an eye out for the registration email. A big thank you to our presenters today and those who contributed questions. And thank you everyone for joining us. We will look forward to seeing you in June. Bye for now.